There is a power within you, a force so great that it shapes the reality you experience. The mind, through imagination and assumption, molds the unseen into the seen. Every condition, every circumstance is the result of the thoughts you persist in, the beliefs you hold as true. To act as if success is inevitable is not mere pretense. It is the acceptance of the truth that what you desire is already yours. When you walk through life convinced of your success, reality conforms to that conviction. The world outside is only a reflection of the world within. Hold the image of yourself as one who has already achieved, and life has no choice but to align with that assumption. The mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined with conviction. It simply expresses what it is fed. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you summon into being the very thing you seek. There is no force outside of you that determines your fate. No obstacle, no circumstance has the power to deny you unless you accept its reality. The only limitations that exist are those you acknowledge. The moment you abandon the idea of struggle, the moment you step into the knowing that success is yours, the path clears. You begin to move differently, to speak differently, to think from the place of accomplishment rather than towards it. The shift is subtle yet profound, for when you believe you have already succeeded, doubt dissolves and your actions become the natural expression of that belief. Every great achievement begins with an inner assumption. It is not hope, nor is it wishful thinking. It is a state of being, a quiet confidence that needs no proof. You do not wait for success to prove itself to you, you embody it now. You think as one who has arrived, you feel as one who has conquered, and you move as one whose victory is assured. The mind faithfully brings forth that which it dwells upon. Persist in the assumption that you are already successful, and the world will reshape itself to match your conviction. The mind is the creative power behind all that we experience. Everything you see, touch, and engage with in the physical world is a reflection of the unseen, the thoughts, beliefs, and imaginations that reside within you. What you hold in your mind with conviction will inevitably take form in your life. The great secret is that imagination is not just an idle daydream, but the very foundation of reality itself. The circumstances you face, the opportunities that appear, and the challenges that arise are all responses to the dominant thoughts you entertain. Consider for a moment the nature of the world you live in. Every invention, every great structure, every advancement in human history began as an idea. A thought, intangible and invisible, became a reality through belief and persistence. The same principle applies to success. Those who achieve greatness are not simply lucky or uniquely gifted. They hold a vision in their minds so strongly that the world must shape itself to match their assumption. They do not wait for evidence to believe. They believe first, and the evidence follows. This is the key that unlocks every possibility. The mind is not just a passive observer of life, but the very architect of it. When you truly grasp this, you no longer see yourself as subject to external forces. You begin to understand that everything you need to shape your future is already within you. Your imagination is the tool, and your assumption is the force that gives it life. If you persistently imagine yourself as successful, as someone who effortlessly attracts opportunities, wealth, and fulfillment, then that is exactly what your world will reflect. Doubt and fear are only the results of assuming failure instead of success. When you allow worry to take root in your mind, you give power to unwanted circumstances. The mind does not discriminate, it simply creates what you focus on. This is why so many struggle without realizing that they are reinforcing their struggles by constantly thinking about them. The one who continuously dwells on failure will encounter failure at every turn. The one who assumes success, regardless of appearances, will find the world bending to meet that expectation. Your imagination is limitless. It is the bridge between what is unseen and what becomes real. It does not matter what the current state of your life looks like. What matters is what you accept as true in your mind. If you persist in the idea that you are destined for success, that every event in your life is leading you towards something greater, then that is exactly what will unfold. It is not about forcing change, it is about shifting your internal reality so that your external world follows suit. To truly embrace this power, you must practice seeing yourself already possessing what you desire, not as a distant wish or a hopeful dream, but as an undeniable fact. If you desire financial abundance, you must imagine yourself as someone who already lives in prosperity. If you seek recognition and influence, you must assume the role of someone who naturally commands respect. It is not enough to wish for these things, you must assume the state of having them now. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined with feeling. When you vividly experience success in your mind, the subconscious mind accepts it as truth and sets into motion the necessary conditions for it to materialize. This is why great visionaries, artists, and leaders have always spoken about the power of belief. They did not wait for their circumstances to change before they believed first, and their circumstances changed to match that belief. Every great transformation begins within. The world is not something happening to you, it is something responding to you. Your thoughts are not insignificant, they are the seeds of your future. Whatever you plant in your mind will grow into reality. The only question is whether you are planting seeds of success or seeds of limitation. If you spend your days doubting, fearing, and questioning your ability to achieve, then you are unknowingly cultivating failure. But if you persist in the unwavering belief that success is already yours, then success must become your reality. It is easy to look at life and assume that external conditions determine your fate, but that is the illusion. The truth is that everything begins in the unseen. Everything you desire already exists in potential form, waiting for you to claim it. When you act as if success is inevitable, you align yourself with that reality. You no longer operate from a place of need or desperation. You move with certainty, knowing that what you seek is already seeking you. This is not about pretending or faking confidence. It is about understanding that reality is fluid, shaped by consciousness. The moment you truly decide, that success is your destiny, you send out a command to the universe and everything begins shifting in your favor. Opportunities appear where none seem to exist. The right people enter your life at the right time. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable dissolve in ways you never could have planned. There is no mystery to this. It is simply the law of consciousness. What you hold in your mind, with feeling and persistence, must be made manifest. The only reason people fail is that they assume failure more readily than they assume success. They let the world dictate what they believe rather than allowing their belief to dictate the world. The moment you reverse this, when you insist upon your success as an unshakable reality, everything must fall into place accordingly. You do not need to wait for permission to succeed. You do not need external validation before you believe in yourself. The power lies within you now. Begin to see yourself as the successful, accomplished person you desire to be. Do not wait for evidence. Create it within your mind. Feel the joy, the confidence, the certainty of already having what you seek. When you persist in this assumption, your world will inevitably shape itself to reflect it. To act from the end is to embody the reality of your desire as if it is already fulfilled. It is not about wishing, hoping, or waiting for external proof. It is about stepping into the identity of the person who has already arrived at the destination. The mind is the foundation upon which all things are built, and whatever you accept as true within yourself must express itself in your world. There is no separation between what you imagine with conviction and what you eventually experience. The only difference is time, and even time bends to the one who lives in the certainty of their vision. When you think of success, what comes to mind? Is it something distant, something that feels just out of reach? Or is it something you already possess, something that is as natural to you as breathing? The way you perceive success determines your relationship with it. If you see it as something to be chased, it will always remain ahead of you. But if you assume it is your present state, it will unfold effortlessly in your life. The one who acts from the end does not wait for circumstances to change. They move with the confidence that everything is already done. Your assumptions dictate your actions, and your actions shape your reality. When you carry yourself as someone who has already succeeded, the world begins to reflect that assumption. You speak with more authority, you move with certainty, and you radiate the energy of accomplishment. This is not about arrogance or pretense, it is about alignment. You are not forcing yourself to be something you are not. You are revealing the truth of what you already are. The only thing that has ever separated you from your desires is the belief that you do not yet have them. The moment you dissolve that belief, the barriers disappear. Consider the way a successful person thinks and behaves. They do not dwell on obstacles, nor do they question whether they will achieve their goals. They operate from a place of knowing. This knowing is not based on external validation, but on an internal conviction. They have already decided that success is theirs, and so the world must conform to that decision. This is the secret that so few understand. The external world is always a reflection of the internal state. To change your reality, you must first change your assumption about yourself. The one who acts from the end sees no lack. They do not need to strive or struggle because they are not trying to become something they already are. They do not wait for wealth to appear before they feel abundant. They embody abundance now. They do not wait for opportunities to prove their worth. They know their worth and walk in it. This is the fundamental shift that separates those who manifest effortlessly from those who spend their lives chasing what seems just out of reach. The difference is not in effort, but in perception. Most people live in a constant state of waiting. They wait for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right sign. But waiting only creates more waiting. The one who acts from the end does not wait. They assume. They step into the version of themselves who already has everything they desire, and in doing so, they draw that reality toward them. There is no need for force, no need for struggle. When you fully embody a state, reality has no choice but to reflect it. Your imagination is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It is the only tool you need to shift your circumstances. When you close your eyes and see yourself as already successful, when you feel the emotions of accomplishment, when you carry that energy into your daily life, you have already moved into that reality. The physical world is simply catching up to your new state of being. The delay between thought and manifestation is not a sign that your assumption is incorrect. It is simply the unfolding of reality in perfect order. Doubt only arises when you allow the present circumstances to dictate what you believe. But the one who acts from the end is not swayed by appearances. They understand that what they see now is simply a reflection of old assumptions. If you want to change the future, you must change what you assume to be true in the present. This is why it is so crucial to persist in the feeling of already having what you seek. You are not creating something new. You are aligning with what already exists in potential. When you assume success as your present reality, you begin to notice subtle changes in the way you think and act. You no longer hesitate, you no longer fear failure, and you no longer seek approval. The one who already possesses something does not need to chase it. They move through life with an ease and certainty that magnetizes success toward them. This shift in consciousness is the key to unlocking everything you desire. You do not need to fight for it. You simply need to accept it as already yours. This is the power of assumption. It overrides all obstacles, all doubts, and all limitations. When you act from the end, you step into a reality where success is not something to be achieved, but something to be revealed. It has always been within you, waiting for you to claim it. The only thing required is a shift in perception, a willingness to let go of the idea that you are still on the journey. You are not on the way. You have arrived. And the moment you accept that as truth, the world must rearrange itself to reflect it. The world responds not to your desires, but to your assumptions. If you assume yourself to be someone struggling for success, then struggle will be your reality. If you assume yourself to be someone for whom success is effortless, then ease and opportunities will unfold naturally before you. Your assumption is the cause and your world is the effect. This is the simple yet profound truth that governs all manifestations in life. Most people try to change their external circumstances without first addressing the internal state that created them. They work tirelessly, hoping that effort alone will bring transformation. but they do not realize that effort without alignment only reinforces the very struggle they seek to escape. To see yourself as already successful is not wishful thinking. It is the foundation of all real change. The moment you assume a new state of being, your subconscious mind begins to direct your actions, your thoughts, and even the people you attract. This shift is automatic and requires no force. You do not have to convince the world of your success. You only need to convince yourself. The world is merely a mirror, reflecting back to you the beliefs you hold as true. This is why some people seem to attract wealth and success effortlessly, while others fight against endless obstacles. The difference is not in talent, intelligence, or even luck. It is in their assumptions. Imagine walking into a room with the confidence of someone who has already achieved everything they desire. How would you carry yourself? How would you speak? How would you react to challenges? The way you see yourself dictates the way the world sees you. If you truly believe in your own success, you will radiate an energy that others can feel. They will respond to you differently, opportunities will seem to appear out of nowhere, and doors that were once closed will begin to open. The shift does not happen because the world has changed. It happens because you have changed. Many people believe they need proof before they can believe in their success. But this is the exact opposite of how reality works. Belief does not come after evidence. Evidence comes after belief. When you assume the role of someone who has already succeeded, your mind automatically filters reality to confirm that assumption. You begin to notice things you never saw before. You recognize opportunities that previously seemed invisible. And you instinctively make choices that align with the person you have decided to be. This is not a coincidence. It is the natural unfolding of your new state of consciousness. The mind is the only true creator. Everything you see around you was first imagined by someone before it became real. The clothes you wear, the buildings you enter, the technology you use, none of these things existed until someone assumed them to be possible. This same principle applies to your own life. If you assume that success is inevitable for you, then it must become your reality. There is no other possibility. The world cannot contradict your deeply held beliefs because it is shaped by them. Doubt is the only thing that can delay your manifestation. When you entertain doubt, you are assuming failure instead of success. You are telling the world, I do not truly believe in my own achievement. And so, the world reflects that uncertainty back to you. But when you move with unwavering confidence, knowing that your success is already secured, there is nothing that can stand in your way. You do not need to see the full path ahead. You only need to take the first step with the conviction that the rest of the road will reveal itself. Every successful person you admire has already lived by this principle, whether they were aware of it or not. They did not wait for external validation before stepping into their greatness. They assumed their success before it was visible to others. This is why people who act as if they belong in a certain space often end up being welcomed into it. The world respects conviction. It recognizes certainty. When you carry yourself as someone who already has what they desire, the universe reorganizes itself to match that assumption. It is not necessary to force yourself into action before you have adjusted your inner state. Many people believe they must struggle and push themselves to prove their worth, but this approach is backwards. Action is only effective when it flows from a state of belief. When you assume yourself to be successful, the right actions will come naturally. They will not feel like effort, they will feel like the next logical step. Inspiration will replace struggle, and intuition will guide you toward the right choices. This is the effortless path to success. When you change your assumption, everything around you begins to shift. People start to treat you differently. New opportunities arise. Obstacles that once seemed immovable dissolve into nothingness. But none of this happens until you decide with full certainty that success is already yours. This is not about pretending or faking confidence. It is about stepping into the truth of who you really are. You are already everything you desire to be. The only thing left to do is accept it as reality. Most people delay their success because they are waiting for something outside of them to change first. They wait for the right time, the right circumstances, or the right opportunity. But success does not work that way. The shift must happen within you first. The moment you assume success is your natural state, everything else begins to align. You no longer see obstacles as barriers, you see them as stepping stones. You no longer hesitate, you act with certainty. You no longer doubt, you know. There is nothing in this world that can stop the one who assumes their success is inevitable. They do not waste time questioning whether they will achieve their dreams. They have already arrived in their minds. And because they have arrived mentally, the physical world must follow. This is not theory, this is law. The world must conform to the assumptions you hold most deeply. So choose wisely, assume wisely, and watch as success unfolds before you, not as a struggle, but as the most natural outcome of who you have decided to be. Everything in your reality is shaped by your inner conversations. What you tell yourself daily is the blueprint upon which your external world is constructed. If you spend your days affirming limitation, lack, and struggle, then these will be the experiences you encounter. But if you shift the nature of your self-talk and begin to affirm certainty, ease, and success, your world must inevitably reflect those assumptions. There is no force outside of you imposing circumstances upon your life. There is only the projection of what you consistently hold to be true within your mind. To embody success, your inner dialogue must align with the reality you desire. The mind is always speaking, always shaping, always creating. When left unchecked, it tends to recycle old fears, doubts, and insecurities, reinforcing the very limitations you wish to escape. But the moment you take control of this dialogue and deliberately shift it, everything begins to change. Success is not something you attain through external struggle. It is something you assume internally, and the world then follows suit. Imagine for a moment that you are already the person you desire to be. What would your inner conversations sound like? Would you be questioning your worth? Would you be filled with doubt? Or would you speak to yourself with the confidence of someone who knows their success is inevitable? The words you speak within yourself dictate the world you experience. You cannot expect to see success externally while feeding your mind a constant stream of limitation. The two cannot coexist. Most people unknowingly sabotage their success through negative self-talk. They allow past failures, fears, and opinions of others to shape their internal dialogue. But the past has no power except the power you give it. The only reality that matters is the one you are creating now, in this very moment, through the thoughts you accept as true. If you can assume the feeling of already being successful, your self-talk will naturally begin to reflect that assumption. And when your inner dialogue changes, everything else changes with it. Many believe they need evidence before they can believe in their success, but this is entirely backward. The mind does not wait for proof, it creates proof. If you assume yourself to be successful and persist in that assumption, reality must conform. It has no choice. The world is simply a mirror reflecting the state you hold within. You do not need to force external change. You need only to master your internal conversations. What you tell yourself in silence carries more power than any action you take in the physical world. The key is persistence. Changing your inner dialogue is not a one-time event. It is a daily discipline. The mind will try to revert to old patterns, replaying fears and doubts, but you must be vigilant. The moment you catch yourself entertaining thoughts that contradict your success, you must replace them with thoughts that affirm it. This is not about denying reality. It is about consciously shaping it. The more you persist in assuming your success, the more natural it becomes, until eventually it feels like the only truth. When you align your inner conversations with success, you begin to carry yourself differently. You walk with certainty, you speak with conviction, and you move through the world as someone who knows their path is already secured. People sense this energy, they respond to it. They are drawn to those who radiate confidence and certainty. The opportunities that once seemed distant now appear effortlessly, not because they were never there, but because you have finally aligned yourself with them. It is important to recognize that your inner dialogue is not just words, it is energy. Every thought carries a frequency, and the thoughts you entertain most often create a field around you that attracts experiences of a similar nature. If you constantly dwell on lack, struggle, and limitation, you will continue to encounter those conditions. But if you immerse yourself in thoughts of abundance, ease, and certainty, you will begin to attract experiences that confirm those truths. This is not wishful thinking. It is the fundamental nature of creation. You do not need to force yourself to take excessive action to prove your worth. Action is only effective when it flows from the right state of mind. When you assume success internally, inspired action follows naturally. You do not need to push or struggle. You are simply guided toward the right opportunities at the right time. The world bends to the one who has mastered their inner world, for external circumstances are always secondary to the assumptions held within. Some will say that success requires effort, struggle, and sacrifice. But what they fail to see is that the struggle exists only for those who assume it to be necessary. There are many who achieve greatness with ease, not because they are lucky, but because they never assumed that success had to be difficult. Their inner dialogue has always been one of ease, and so their reality reflects that ease. If you wish to experience the same, you must adopt the same inner certainty. If you doubt, the world will give you reasons to doubt. If you believe, the world will give you reasons to believe. The external world is not the cause, it is the effect. The moment you internalize this truth, you gain complete control over your life. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are the creator of circumstances. The conversations you hold within yourself are shaping your future at every moment. If you wish to transform your life, begin by transforming your inner dialogue. Let your words be filled with certainty. Let your thoughts affirm your success. Let your mind be a sanctuary of confidence, ease, and abundance. The more you persist in these assumptions, the more natural they become, and the more quickly they manifest. There is no force in the universe that can deny the one who assumes their success with unwavering faith. The only requirement is that you remain steadfast, knowing that what you assume within must become your experience without. There is no separation between you and the reality you desire except the assumptions you hold about yourself. The world does not determine what is possible for you. You do. Every limitation you perceive is simply a reflection of an inner belief you have accepted as true. But what if you decided right now that success was not something you had to chase, but something that was already yours? What if you stopped waiting for external proof and simply claimed it as an unshakable fact? The moment you do this, everything begins to shift. The world is a mirror, reflecting back to you the state you occupy in consciousness. If you believe that success is a struggle, it will be. If you believe that success is inevitable, then no force in existence can prevent it from becoming your reality. It is not about effort, luck, or external conditions. It is about what you are willing to accept as true. The mind will always try to cling to familiar patterns. Even if those patterns do not serve you, it will present you with doubts, fears, and excuses, all in an attempt to keep you tied to your old identity. But you are not bound by past beliefs. You are free to choose a new assumption at any moment. Imagine waking up every day with the absolute certainty that success is already yours. How would you carry yourself? How would you speak? How would you interact with others? Would you hesitate? Would you question whether you are good enough? Or would you move through life with an effortless confidence, knowing that everything is unfolding perfectly in your favor? This is not about pretending. It is about embodying a truth so deeply that it becomes second nature. The key is to train your mind to accept this new reality as fact. Repetition is power. The more you affirm your success, the more natural it becomes. Your subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It simply accepts whatever you persist in assuming. If you tell yourself repeatedly that you are successful, that everything is working in your favor, that you always achieve what you set out to do, your subconscious will begin to believe it. And once it accepts this as truth, Your reality must shift accordingly. Doubt is the only thing that stands between you and the life you desire. The moment you release doubt and fully commit to the assumption of success, there is nothing left to struggle against. The external world may take time to rearrange itself, but that is irrelevant. Your work is not to force outcomes, but to remain unwavering in your assumption. When you do this, the right circumstances, people, and opportunities will appear naturally, without effort or strain. It is easy to fall into the trap of looking at current circumstances and allowing them to dictate what you believe is possible. But this is the opposite of creation. You must hold the vision of success even when the physical world gives you no evidence of it. The unseen always precedes the seen. Just as a seed takes time to grow into a tree, your assumptions must be nurtured before they manifest into form. Most people abandon their desires too soon, allowing doubt to creep in before their new reality has had time to take shape. But those who persist, those who remain unwavering in their assumption of success, always see their desires fulfilled. You must become so certain of your success that there is no room for contradiction. If a thought arises that opposes your desired reality, dismiss it immediately. Replace it with a thought that aligns with your assumption of success. This is not blind optimism, it is conscious creation. The more you train your mind to dwell in the state of success, the more naturally it will become your dominant state. And once success becomes your dominant state, it is inevitable that it will externalize in your world. The law is simple. What you assume to be true will become true. There is no exception. If you assume that success requires struggle, then struggle will be your experience. If you assume that success is effortless, then everything will unfold with ease. The world does not determine the rules, you do. The only question is, what will you choose to believe? Will you allow old assumptions to dictate your reality, or will you claim your success now without hesitation? Everything you need is already within you. The only thing required is your willingness to assume it as fact. You do not need to wait for permission. You do not need external validation. You need only to persist in the knowing that success is already yours. The more you affirm it, the more deeply it takes root in your consciousness. And once it is fully accepted, nothing can prevent it from manifesting in your life. There is a simple truth that governs all of life. Consciousness is the only reality. What you accept as true, what you embody in your mind, manifests in the world around you. If you wish to experience wealth, abundance, and a life untouched by the worries of the world, you must first assume the feeling of already having it. You do not wait for the outer world to give you proof. You live in the end fully convinced that you are already the person you desire to be. Close your eyes and strip away the limitations of the physical world. In this moment, you are free. You are no longer bound by circumstances, no longer a prisoner of doubt. You are wealthy beyond measure, untouchable by the trivial concerns that once occupied your mind. Walk in the consciousness of this reality. Feel the confidence, the security, the ease that comes with absolute abundance. The world outside may still reflect an old state, but that is irrelevant. What matters is the assumption you hold within. Do not concern yourself with how it will come to pass. The path is not yours to determine. Your only task is to remain steadfast in your assumption. Every thought, every word, every action must align with the reality you have claimed. Speak as one who lacks nothing. Move as one whose wealth is unquestionable. Let your presence radiate the calm assurance of someone who knows that all things are already his. You do not chase, you do not beg, you do not doubt, you simply are. You wake up in the morning and feel the luxury of being completely provided for. You walk into a room and command an energy that requires no explanation. You carry yourself with a quiet power, for you know that you are the source of all that you experience. The world bends to your assumption, always reflecting back to you the state you persist in. There is no need to react to appearances. If the world presents something contrary to your assumption, remain unmoved. It is merely an echo of a past state, dissolving as you continue to hold firm to your inner vision. You are not subject to the world is subject to you. The moment you accept this truth and live from it, reality will shift. Money will flow effortlessly, opportunities will present themselves, and circumstances will rearrange to match the wealth you have claimed within. Act as if you are super rich, and soon you will realize that you always were. Everything begins and ends in consciousness. The world you see, the experiences you encounter, the wealth you desire, all are reflections of the state you hold within. There is no external power shaping your life apart from the assumptions you persist in. You are not at the mercy of circumstances, nor are you bound by what appears to be real. Instead, reality bends and shifts according to the concepts you hold of yourself. If you assume lack, the world mirrors scarcity. If you assume abundance, wealth becomes your natural experience. There is no exception to this law, no moment when it is not in operation. It is working right now, whether you are conscious of it or not. When you accept that consciousness is the only reality, you begin to understand that nothing outside of you holds power. Money is not something you chase, it is something you generate through your inner state. It does not matter what your current bank account shows or what others tell you about financial success. What matters is the truth you claim within yourself. If you insist that money is hard to come by, that struggle is inevitable, then the world will reflect that belief without fail. But if you shift your assumption, if you claim wealth as your natural birthright and live from that conviction, the world will move in ways you cannot yet comprehend to make it so. To embody the consciousness of wealth, you must first abandon the illusion of separation. There is no divide between you and the riches you seek. You are not waiting for prosperity to arrive. It already exists within you, waiting to be recognized. The moment you assume it to be true, the bridge of incidents necessary to bring it into form begins to unfold. This is not a matter of wishful thinking or blind optimism. It is the fundamental nature of creation. Everything you experience begins first as a thought, a feeling, a belief. The outer world is simply the projection of the inner. Look around at your life as it is now. Every situation, every financial condition, every opportunity or lack thereof. It is all the product of past assumptions. If you wish to change your experience, you must begin with the only thing that truly matters, your state of consciousness. When you think of wealth, how do you feel? Is it something distant, something reserved for others, but not for you? Or do you feel at home in the idea of riches, as if it were the most natural thing in the world? The answer to this question determines what will continue to unfold in your reality. The mistake most people make is allowing the outer world to dictate their inner state. They look at their circumstances and react to them, believing that what they see is the ultimate truth. But the wise understand that reality is fluid, that it is shaped moment by moment through assumption. If you truly accept that you are rich, nothing in the external world can shake that belief. You do not wait for proof, nor do you seek validation. You carry yourself as one who has already received, and in doing so you make it impossible for wealth not to appear. The way to assume wealth is not through effort, but through feeling. You do not need to struggle to believe. Instead, you gently sink into the knowing that what you desire is already yours. Imagine yourself in possession of great riches. Feel the weight of financial security, the freedom of unlimited resources, the ease of knowing that all your needs are met effortlessly. Let this state become familiar to you. Walk through your day as if this were already the case. When you purchase something, do so with the quiet confidence of one who is never concerned about money. When you think of your financial future, do so with the certainty that it is secure. Every small act, every subtle shift in assumption reinforces your new state of being. Doubt will try to creep in, for the old self does not easily let go of its limitations. The mind may whisper that this is fantasy, that you must be realistic, that wealth is only for the lucky few. But these are merely echoes of past conditioning, remnants of an old state that no longer serves you. The only reality is the one you claim. If you refuse to accept lack, if you reject every thought that suggests you are anything but prosperous, then you will watch as the world reshapes itself to match your conviction. Every wealthy person, whether they are aware of this law or not, has at some point assumed the consciousness of abundance. It is never about external factors, luck, hard work, or market conditions. It is always about the state of being they have adopted. Some arrive at wealth unconsciously through the conditioning of their upbringing or environment, but the truth remains the same. They became rich because in their consciousness they accepted it as fact. If they were to shift their assumption and begin to believe in loss or failure, their fortune would soon follow suit. The world is only ever reflecting what is held within. You must persist in your assumption. No matter what appears before you, the outer world takes time to conform, but it always does. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up each day to see if it has begun to grow. You trust the process, knowing that in due time it will break through the surface. The same is true for your assumption of wealth. Once you have claimed it, remain unwavering. Do not allow fleeting appearances to convince you otherwise. If money seems scarce, remind yourself that this is merely an old reflection, dissolving. If doubt arises, return to the feeling of already having it. The more you do this, the more natural it becomes, and soon you will find yourself living in the very reality you once imagined. There is nothing outside of you creating your financial state. There is no external force granting or withholding wealth. It is all within you, governed by the assumptions you persist in. If you wish to be rich, you must first accept it as an undeniable fact in consciousness. Act as if you are already wealthy, not in pretense, but in deep, unshakable conviction. Move through the world with the quiet assurance of one who knows their fortune is inevitable. Speak as one who lacks nothing. Think from the perspective of wealth rather than lack. Do this consistently, and the world will have no choice but to reflect it back to you. There is no need to struggle, no need to chase, no need to fear. You already hold the key. The only requirement is that you use it. Assume the feeling of being rich now and watch as your reality transforms to match it. Wealth is not something you acquire, it is something you embody. The state of abundance is not determined by external possessions, but by the internal feeling of already having all that you desire. Everything in life follows this principle. Before anything manifests in the physical world, it must first exist in the unseen realm of consciousness. The key to experiencing wealth is to feel it before it becomes visible, to assume the state of already being rich even when the outer world has not yet conformed. The mistake most people make is waiting for proof before they allow themselves to feel abundant. They believe that once they have money in their hands, then they will feel wealthy, secure, and free. But the truth is the exact opposite. The feeling must come first, and the physical confirmation follows. Your inner state is always primary, and the outer world is only a reflection. You cannot wait for circumstances to change before you shift your belief. You must shift your belief first, and then circumstances will change accordingly. The world around you is nothing more than a mirror, showing you exactly what you assume to be true. If you persist in the assumption that you are lacking, struggling, or waiting for wealth, then that is precisely what the mirror will reflect. But the moment you claim riches as your reality, the world has no choice but to reorganize itself to match your conviction. Think of a time when you received an unexpected sum of money, or when financial ease seemed to flow naturally into your life. If you examine that moment carefully, you will likely notice that you were in a state of ease, confidence, or expectation before the money arrived. You were not obsessing over how it would come or doubting whether you deserved it. Instead, you were either focused on something else or already feeling prosperous in some way. This is because wealth, like everything else, follows the law of assumption. Whatever you assume to be true with feeling, life must reflect. The greatest barrier to wealth is not the economy, not your job, not your background. It is your emotional attachment to lack. Most people unconsciously cultivate the feeling of not having enough. They look at their bank account and feel anxiety. They receive a bill and feel burdened. They think about the future and feel uncertainty. These emotions are signals to the subconscious mind, reinforcing the state of scarcity. And because the subconscious mind only knows how to express what it is fed, it continues to create more of the same. If you want to change your financial reality, you must begin by changing your dominant feelings. Instead of allowing circumstances to dictate your emotions, you must deliberately assume the feeling of wealth, security, and financial ease. This is not about pretending or deceiving yourself. It is about aligning with the truth that consciousness is the only reality. Money is not the source of abundance. Your state of being is. If you assume and persist in the feeling of already being rich, the physical world will mold itself to match. To embody wealth, you must first ask yourself, how does a rich person feel? How does someone who never worries about money experience life? They do not wake up anxious about expenses. They do not hesitate before making purchases. They do not feel restricted by financial concerns. Instead, they move through the world with ease, knowing that they are always provided for. They trust that money flows to them effortlessly and continuously. If you begin to assume these feelings now, before there is any external evidence, you set the foundation for your reality to shift. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate the feeling of wealth is through imagination. The subconscious mind does not differentiate between what is real and what is vividly imagined. If you close your eyes and immerse yourself in the experience of being financially abundant, your subconscious will accept it as truth. Picture yourself checking your bank account and seeing a number so large that money is never a concern. Imagine making purchases without hesitation, knowing that your wealth is limitless. Feel the security of knowing that all your needs are met, that financial freedom is your natural state. The more real this experience feels to you, the more your subconscious will accept it, and the more effortlessly your external world will conform. Another powerful method is to act in alignment with wealth in small, everyday ways. This does not mean spending recklessly or living beyond your means, but rather shifting your mindset in subtle yet profound ways. When you pay a bill, instead of feeling burdened, feel gratitude that you have the means to do so. When you make a purchase, do it with the quiet confidence of one who knows that money is always replenished. Walk, speak, and carry yourself with the poise of someone who has all they need. These small shifts may seem insignificant, but they reinforce the feeling of wealth, and over time, they become your dominant state. Doubt and fear will inevitably try to pull you back into old patterns. The logical mind will argue that feeling rich when you are not is delusional. But logic has no place in the realm of creation. The mind is conditioned to base reality on past experiences, but past experiences are merely the result of previous states of consciousness. If you want something new, you must abandon the old way of thinking, persist in the feeling of wealth despite what appears to be real, and soon reality will bend to your new assumption. You must also learn to detach from the how and when. Many people attempt to feel wealthy, but their efforts are undone by impatience and doubt. They assume the state of abundance for a moment, then immediately look to the outer world for confirmation. If nothing changes instantly, they fall back into the old state of lack, reinforcing the cycle. But true assumption requires unwavering faith. You do not need to know how money will come, nor do you need to control the process. Your only task is to maintain the feeling of already having it. Once the assumption is fully embodied, the external world must reflect it in ways that seem effortless and natural. Wealth is not an external goal to chase. It is an internal state to claim. The moment you decide to feel rich now, without waiting for proof, you set a powerful force in motion. Every great fortune, every financial breakthrough, every story of success follows this law. Those who experience wealth are those who have first accepted it in their consciousness. It is not luck, chance, or external effort that brings riches. It is the unshakable feeling of already being rich that does. Persist in the feeling, live as if it were already true. Move through the world with the certainty that wealth is your natural state, and soon the outer world will be compelled to align. Your external world is nothing but a reflection of your internal state. The conditions you experience, the opportunities that present themselves, and even the way people treat you are all projections of what you hold within. If you desire wealth, you must first become wealth in consciousness. You must saturate your mind with the unwavering assumption that you are already rich, that abundance is your natural state, and that nothing can alter this truth. Reality does not shape your mind. Your mind shapes reality. Most people believe they need to work harder, meet the right people, or stumble upon the perfect opportunity to experience financial success. They chase wealth as if it is something outside of themselves, something they must obtain through struggle and effort. But wealth is not a possession, it is a state of being. The moment you assume it fully, the world must respond in kind. You do not chase what you already are. A truly wealthy person does not spend their days obsessing over money because they already know they have more than enough. They move through life with a quiet confidence, a certainty that financial abundance flows to them effortlessly. This certainty is what draws wealth to them, like a magnet. Imagine for a moment that you are already incredibly rich, not just financially, but in your sense of security, in your ease, in your absolute knowing that you will always have more than enough. How would you feel if money were never a concern? Would you move differently? Would you speak with more assurance? Would you approach life with greater freedom and joy? The way you feel in that imagined scenario is exactly how you must feel now, before the evidence appears. Your subconscious mind does not differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. If you dwell in the feeling of already being wealthy, if you let that feeling dominate your thoughts and emotions, your subconscious will accept it as truth. And once something is accepted as truth in the subconscious, it must be reflected in your external reality. This is not wishful thinking. It is an unbreakable law. Whatever you accept as real within must be made real without. The mistake most people make is allowing their external circumstances to dictate their inner state instead of understanding that their inner state dictates their external circumstances. To embody wealth, you must think from wealth rather than about wealth. There is a profound difference between wanting something and living as though you already have it. If you desire wealth but continue to feel the lack of it, you are reinforcing the state of not having. But if you assume the state of already possessing riches, your world must shape itself accordingly. It is not about ignoring reality. It is about understanding that reality is fluid, always shifting to reflect your dominant assumption. This is why so many who start from nothing rise to extraordinary wealth. It is not their background, their education, or their circumstances that determine their success. It is their unwavering assumption that they are already rich. They do not let temporary setbacks define them. They do not dwell in the state of lack. They persist in the conviction that abundance is theirs. And soon, life bends to their belief. When you understand this, you will no longer look at your current financial situation with fear or limitation. Instead, you will see it as nothing more than a reflection of past assumptions. And because assumptions can be changed, so too can your reality. If you shift your state now, the world will have no choice but to shift along with you. The key is to maintain the feeling of wealth regardless of external conditions. Do not let circumstances shake your belief. If you have little money today, do not let that fact create anxiety or doubt. Instead, remind yourself that what you see now is merely a shadow of past thoughts. It holds no power over you unless you continue to give it power. Detach from appearances and persist in your new assumption. Many will ask, but how do I act rich when I have nothing? Acting rich does not mean reckless spending or pretending to be someone you're not. It means carrying yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are financially free. It means making decisions from a place of abundance rather than fear. It means holding the unshakable belief that money flows to you effortlessly. If you knew for certain that immense wealth was on its way to you, would you still feel anxious? Would you still worry about expenses? Or would you move through life with the peace of someone who knows their fortune is inevitable? That is the mindset you must adopt. You must live in the end, feel the reality of wealth before it is seen. This is not denial, it is creation. Another essential practice is to remove all negative associations with money. Many people unknowingly hold beliefs that repel wealth. They believe that money is difficult to obtain, that financial success requires struggle, or that wealth is reserved for a select few. These assumptions act as barriers blocking the very thing they desire. If you want to be rich, you must see money as something that flows easily, as something that is abundant and ever present. Observe how you speak and think about money. Do you express frustration when bills arrive? Do you focus on what you lack rather than what you have? Every thought and emotion regarding money reinforces your financial state. To shift into wealth, you must think as a wealthy person does. You must feel gratitude for the money you have, no matter how small, and trust that it is always increasing. Gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to shift your financial reality. When you feel thankful for what you have, you signal to your subconscious that you are abundant. And because the subconscious must always create what you feel to be true, it will bring more wealth into your life. Begin to see money as an extension of your own energy, something that flows naturally rather than something you must chase. Faith is the final key. You cannot waver. You cannot affirm wealth in one moment and then fall back into doubt the next. You must persist in the assumption that you are already rich, even when external evidence has not yet appeared. Faith is the ability to remain unwavering in your belief, despite what the senses report. It is the absolute knowing that your assumption must become reality. This is not about hoping or wishing, it is about knowing. The moment you truly know, the moment you embody wealth with absolute certainty, the world will reflect it back to you in ways that seem effortless. Opportunities will arise, unexpected sources of income will appear, and wealth will flow into your life in ways beyond what you could have planned. But it all begins with the assumption. You are not separate from abundance. You are not someone struggling to obtain wealth. You are wealth itself. The moment you fully claim this truth, everything else must align. Persist in the state of being rich. Assume it, feel it, live from it, and soon it will be all that you see. Everything you experience is an outpicturing of your inner world. The reality that surrounds you, the circumstances you face, and the people who enter your life are all responding to the assumptions you hold within. If you desire to be rich, you must first become rich in consciousness. You must step into the state of being wealthy before wealth appears in physical form. The outer world is not the cause, it is the effect. The true cause of your financial condition lies in the unseen realm of imagination, belief, and assumption. Many believe that money is something they must chase, something external that requires effort, struggle, or the right conditions to attain. But the truth is that money, like everything else, follows the laws of the mind. It is drawn to you or repelled from you based on your dominant state. You must understand that the subconscious mind is a mirror. It does not question or resist, it simply reflects. If you assume yourself to be someone of great wealth, your subconscious will accept that as truth, and life will rearrange itself to align with that truth. The key is not just to think about wealth, but to think from wealth. There is a profound difference between wishing for money and assuming you already have it. The one who wishes acknowledges lack, while the one who assumes acknowledges possession. If you truly believe yourself to be rich, you will feel differently, act differently, and move through the world with an unshakable sense of ease. This feeling, this inner conviction, is what manifests wealth in your experience. Begin by observing the way you feel when you think about money. Do you feel tension, worry, or doubt? These emotions reveal deep-seated beliefs about lack and limitation. If you react negatively to financial matters, it is a sign that you are still operating from a state of scarcity. You must train yourself to remain unmoved by circumstances, to refuse to react to temporary conditions, and instead persist in the assumption of wealth. A person who is truly wealthy does not question their wealth. They do not wake up wondering if they will have enough. They do not live in fear of losing money or worrying about bills. Their confidence in their financial security is absolute. This confidence is not the result of their wealth, it is the cause. If you wish to embody wealth, you must first embody the feeling of financial ease and certainty. The more natural this feeling becomes, the more inevitable the manifestation of wealth will be. One of the most effective ways to shift into this state is through mental rehearsal. Take time every day to imagine yourself as already possessing great wealth. See yourself living in abundance, spending freely without concern, and enjoying financial security. Let the feeling of wealth take root within you. The more you engage in this practice, the more natural it will become, until eventually it will feel more real than your current reality. And once it feels real within, it must become real without. Do not allow the outer world to dictate your inner state. If you look at your bank account and feel discouraged, you are reinforcing the state of lack. If you react to financial struggles with frustration or fear, you are confirming the very condition you wish to change. Instead, train yourself to remain steadfast in the assumption of wealth. No matter what the senses report, hold to your belief that money is always flowing to you, that you are financially free, and that abundance is your natural state. Your words and thoughts shape your reality. Be mindful of how you speak about money. Do you say things like, "I can't afford this," "money is hard to come by," or "I never have enough"? These statements may seem harmless, but they reinforce a state of lack. Instead, adopt the language of abundance. Speak as though you already have everything you desire. Say, "Money flows to me effortlessly. I always have more than enough, and wealth is constantly increasing in my life." The more you affirm these truths, the more deeply they will be impressed upon your subconscious, and the sooner they will become your experience. Gratitude is another powerful tool for shifting into the state of wealth. When you feel grateful for what you have, you signal to your subconscious that you are already abundant. This reinforces the assumption of wealth and attracts even more abundance into your life. Each time you receive money, no matter how small, express gratitude. Each time you pay a bill, give thanks for the ability to do so. By cultivating an attitude of gratitude, you align yourself with the energy of financial abundance. Many people sabotage their wealth by focusing too much on the how. They become obsessed with finding the perfect opportunity, making the right investment, or securing a high-paying job. But wealth does not come from effort alone, it comes from a state of being. When you assume the feeling of wealth, opportunities will arise naturally, resources will present themselves, and the right actions will flow effortlessly. Your only job is to maintain the assumption that you are already rich. If doubt arises, do not let it take root. The moment you question whether this will work, you are stepping out of the state of wealth and back into the state of lack. If you truly believe yourself to be rich, you would never question it. Remind yourself that your assumption creates your reality. Trust in the unseen, persist in your belief, and refuse to be swayed by temporary appearances. Faith is the final key. You must hold unwavering faith that your wealth is already yours, even if physical evidence has not yet appeared. The world will test you, presenting situations that seem to contradict your assumption. But these are merely reflections of old beliefs, remnants of past thoughts that no longer serve you. Do not give them power. Stay firm in your assumption, and soon your external world will conform to your new state. This is not about forcing, struggling, or trying to control circumstances. It is about becoming. You must embody the feeling of wealth so completely that it becomes your natural state. Once this happens, money will flow effortlessly into your life. The world cannot help but mirror back the truth you hold within. Wealth is not something you attain, it is something you become. Persist in the assumption of being rich, and soon it will be all that you see. The world you experience is nothing more than a reflection of the state you occupy. Everything around you, your finances, relationships, health, and opportunities, is a projection of the assumptions you hold within. You cannot experience wealth if you continue to embody the consciousness of lack. You cannot attract abundance while dwelling in the feeling of limitation. To shift your reality, you must first shift your state of being. You must assume, with unwavering conviction, that you are already the person who has everything you desire. The way you carry yourself in daily life reveals the state you are occupying. The wealthy move through the world with ease, certainty, and confidence. They are unbothered by temporary setbacks because they know that money is always available to them. They never question their financial security because they assume it is a fact. When you observe their demeanor, you see no hesitation, no desperation, no sense of lack. This is not because of the money they have, it is because of the state they embody. Wealth follows their consciousness. They do not chase money. Money comes to them effortlessly. If you desire to be rich, you must begin to walk, talk, and think as though you already are. You must abandon the habits of scarcity, the worries of not having enough, and the constant concern about financial matters. Instead, step into the state of someone who has already achieved financial freedom. The way you sit, stand, and carry yourself should reflect the confidence of wealth. There is no need to announce it to the world. It should be felt in your presence. When you move with certainty, when you expect abundance, the world conforms to your assumption. This is not about reckless spending or pretending in an external way. Acting as if you are rich does not mean making impulsive purchases or flaunting something that does not yet exist physically. True wealth is not defined by material possessions alone. It is a state of mind. It is the inner knowing that you are always provided for, that money flows easily to you, that you are connected to an infinite source of abundance. The feeling of wealth must be so natural to you that it no longer feels like a desire, but rather a simple fact of your existence. To embody this state, start by eliminating thoughts of limitation. Every time you catch yourself worrying about money, replace that thought with one of abundance. Instead of saying, I can't afford this, say, money is always flowing to me. Instead of thinking about lack, dwell on the idea that wealth is inevitable. The subconscious mind does not differentiate between reality and imagination. It accepts whatever you impress upon it as truth. If you constantly affirm your financial freedom, your subconscious will accept it and life will respond accordingly. Your external world is always playing catch up to your inner world. If you persist in the assumption of wealth, it will manifest. But most people waver. They allow temporary financial struggles to shake their belief. They look at their bank balance and react with fear. They hear others talk about economic difficulties and absorb that fear into their own consciousness. The moment you allow doubt to creep in, you step out of the state of wealth and back into the state of lack. A truly wealthy person does not need constant validation from the outside world. They do not check their finances in a state of anxiety. They do not question whether they will have enough. They assume that money is always there, and because they assume it, it becomes their reality. Their confidence does not come from their financial position. It comes from their unwavering belief in their abundance. This belief is what creates their wealth, not the other way around. Imagine for a moment that you already have everything you desire. How would you move through life? Would you wake up feeling stressed about money? Or would you begin your day with ease, knowing that everything is taken care of? Would you hesitate before making purchases? Or would you trust that more than enough is always available? Would you feel anxious about the future, or would you live in the certainty that financial success is inevitable? The way you feel now is shaping the life you will experience. If you want to be rich, you must first feel rich. If you want abundance, you must radiate abundance. If you want financial freedom, you must embody the feeling of already being free. This is not about forcing or trying. It is about allowing yourself to assume the identity of wealth so completely that it becomes second nature. Many people believe that money requires effort, struggle, and sacrifice. They work tirelessly, hoping to one day achieve financial security. But effort alone does not create wealth. There are many who work hard yet remain stuck in financial struggle because their state of mind remains one of lack. Wealth is not a reward for struggle, it is a reflection of your state of being. Those who assume themselves to be rich experience wealth. Those who assume themselves to be lacking continue to experience lack, no matter how hard they work. Everything you desire already exists in the unseen. The wealth you seek is not something you need to chase, it is something you need to align with. Your only task is to persist in the assumption that you already have it. Let go of the need to question how it will come. when it will come, or through what means it will appear. These concerns only reinforce the idea that it is not yet yours. Instead, dwell in the certainty that it is done. The moment you truly accept your wealth as a fact, reality will rearrange itself to match that assumption. When faced with financial difficulties, remind yourself that they are merely remnants of past thinking. Do not react to them as if they hold power over you. If you receive an unexpected expense, do not fall into fear. Instead, remind yourself that you are wealthy, that money is always available, and that abundance is your natural state. The moment you react with fear, you affirm lack. The moment you respond with confidence, you affirm wealth. Reality follows your lead. The more you assume yourself to be rich, the more natural it becomes. Soon it will no longer feel like a practice, it will feel like the only truth. When this happens, you will notice money appearing in unexpected ways, opportunities presenting themselves effortlessly, and financial abundance flowing into your life with ease. This is not magic, it is law. Your outer world must conform to your inner state. Do not wait for wealth to prove itself to you before you believe it. Believe it now and the proof will come. Walk, talk, and think as the rich person you desire to be, not because you are pretending, but because you are becoming. Assume the state of financial freedom so fully that it becomes your reality. When you do this, nothing can stop wealth from manifesting in your life. Everything begins with imagination. You are not separate from the power that shapes reality. You are that power. The world you see is only a reflection of your inner state. The moment you accept this truth, you awaken to the infinite potential within you. Desire is not something outside of you. It is not a hope nor a wish, but a calling from within, a glimpse of what is already yours. The very fact that you can imagine it means it exists. But if you continue to see it as something distant, as something you must chase, you will remain in a state of wanting. What you seek is not beyond your reach. It is already done. Act as if. Walk as the person who already possesses what you seek. Speak as one who knows it is theirs. Feel it so deeply that the world has no choice but to conform. There is no force outside of you delaying your manifestation. It is only your own doubts, your own reluctance to fully assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The law is simple. What you assume to be true with feeling and conviction must harden into fact. When you close your eyes and see yourself in possession of your desire, when you feel it as real, you step into a new state of being. The old self fades and a new self is born. And as surely as night follows day, the world shifts. Circumstances will align. People, opportunities, and events will move into place. Not by effort, not by struggle, but by the unseen hand that shapes all things according to your inner state. Trust the unseen. Trust the unseen reality more than the visible world. The senses will try to convince you otherwise, but they are only showing you the past, the reflection of old thoughts. Do not be fooled by appearances. The real work happens in silence, in stillness, in the quiet conviction that it is done. Doubt is the only enemy. The moment you allow doubt to creep in, you return to the old state, the state of wanting rather than possessing. And so you must persist. Persist in the feeling of already having it. Persist in the assumption that it is done. Do not waver between faith and fear, for a double-minded man receives nothing. There is no need to question how or when. That is not your concern. Your only task is to remain faithful to the assumption. Just trust. Trust that the universe is responding to the vibration you hold within. Trust that it is done. The foundation of all creation begins in the mind. Every experience, every event, and every circumstance in your life originates from the thoughts and beliefs you hold within. The world you see is not separate from you. It is a mirror reflecting back the contents of your imagination. Nothing comes into being without first being conceived in thought. This is the eternal law that governs all manifestation. You do not observe the world and then decide what to think. Rather, what you think determines what you observe. Reality does not exist outside of you, waiting to be discovered. Instead, it is shaped moment by moment by your assumptions, by the pictures you hold in your mind, by the emotions you attach to them. Everything begins within, and the external world simply follows the blueprint you have designed. There is no randomness in creation. Everything in your life, whether joyful or challenging, is a direct result of the consciousness you have assumed. When you realize that your imagination is not a passive tool, but the very force that shapes existence, you begin to take control of your destiny. You are not at the mercy of circumstances, nor are you bound by the limitations the world imposes on you. Instead, you hold within you the infinite creative power to shape life exactly as you desire. If you wish to change any aspect of your life, you must first change the images you hold in your mind. Many people believe they must work hard, struggle, or wait for external conditions to improve before they can experience change, but this belief is an illusion. The world outside does not create your experience. Your experience creates the world outside. If you continue to focus on what is, on what appears to be, then you will continue to recreate the same reality over and over again. The only way to break free from this cycle is to imagine a new reality and accept it as true. The power of imagination is absolute. What you consistently dwell upon must eventually externalize itself in the world of form. This is not a matter of chance, nor is it dependent on luck or external forces. The law operates with perfect precision. If you persist in seeing yourself as wealthy, as loved, as successful, then reality must conform to this vision. If you persist in seeing yourself as lacking, as unworthy, as struggling, then reality must also conform to this vision. There is no escape from this truth. The images you impress upon your subconscious mind dictate the course of your life. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every moment of transformation begins with someone daring to imagine beyond their present reality. The ones who rise above limitation are those who refuse to accept the world as it is and instead choose to see it as they wish it to be. They do not concern themselves with the how or when. They simply hold firm to the inner conviction that what they desire is already theirs. And through this unwavering belief, they shape their reality in accordance with their inner vision. Imagination is the key to unlocking the life you desire. It is not mere daydreaming, nor is it a tool for temporary escape. It is the force that molds the unseen into the seen. When you close your eyes and vividly see yourself living the life you desire, feeling it as though it were real, you set in motion the unseen forces that will bring that vision to life. You are planting a seed in consciousness, and that seed must bear fruit. It may not happen instantly, and it may not unfold in the way you expect, but if you persist, it is inevitable. The mistake most people make is that they allow their imagination to be dictated by external circumstances. They look at their current reality and assume it is fixed. They believe that what is now will always be, and in doing so, they unknowingly reinforce it. But reality is not fixed. It is fluid. It is constantly being shaped and reshaped by the thoughts and feelings you entertain. If you want to create something new, you must learn to detach from appearances and live in the unseen. You must train yourself to see beyond what is and focus instead on what could be. When you assume a new state of being, the world will adjust itself to match that state. You do not need to force things to happen. You do not need to struggle or manipulate. The law is effortless. The moment you fully accept something as true in your imagination, reality begins to shift. People, circumstances, and events will move in ways you could never predict to bring your vision into existence. It is not your job to figure out how it will happen. It is only your job to remain faithful to the assumption that it is already done. Doubt is the only thing that can delay manifestation. The moment you allow fear, worry, or disbelief to enter your mind, you begin to undo your own work. You must guard your imagination with unwavering faith. You must refuse to entertain any thought that contradicts your desired reality. The world may present you with evidence that seems to contradict your vision, but this is only a test of your persistence. If you remain loyal to the unseen, if you continue to hold firm to your assumption, reality must yield to your will. The most powerful way to use your imagination is to experience your desire as if it were already real. Do not see yourself as someone who is hoping or waiting. See yourself as someone who already possesses what they seek. Feel it, embody it. Walk with the confidence of someone who knows their wish is already fulfilled. The more real it feels within, the more quickly it will become real without. This is not theory, it is law. The same principle that governs the rising of the sun, the changing of the tides, and the growth of a seed governs the manifestation of your desires. It is unchanging, unfailing, and ever present. Once you accept this truth and begin to use it consciously, you will realize that nothing is out of reach. You are not a victim of fate, nor are you bound by past circumstances. You are the creator of your reality, and your imagination is the tool through which you bring your desires to life. Every day, you are given the opportunity to choose what you will create. You can continue to repeat the patterns of the past, or you can step into a new reality. The choice is always yours. And the moment you dare to believe in the unseen, the moment you fully embrace the power of your imagination, the world will rearrange itself to reflect your newfound state of being. The very fact that you desire something is proof that it already exists. Desire is not something outside of you, nor is it something separate from your reality. It is a glimpse of what is already yours, calling you to claim it. The moment a desire arises within you, it is not asking for your permission to exist. It is revealing to you what is possible, what is waiting for you in the unseen. It is not a hope, not a wish, not a distant dream, but an invitation to step into a new reality. Most people see desire as a sign of lack. They believe that because they do not have something in their physical world, it must be far away, difficult to attain, or dependent on external circumstances. But this is an illusion. The desire itself is the bridge between where you are and where you wish to be. It does not come to tease you, nor does it come to remind you of what you do not have. It comes as evidence that what you seek is already present in your consciousness, waiting to be expressed in the physical world. The universe does not play games. It does not give you a desire without also giving you the means to fulfill it. The moment a thought enters your mind, the possibility of its manifestation is already alive. But the key is to recognize this truth and accept it as done. Most people entertain desire in a state of longing. They look at what they want and feel as though it is far away. They create distance between themselves and their wish by believing it is something to be attained rather than something to be claimed. But the only thing that creates this distance is their own state of being. You must understand that there is no separation between you and your desire. The only thing that determines whether you experience it in your world is your state of mind. The moment you shift your state to one of already having it, it must become your reality. There is no other way. This is not a matter of chance, nor is it a question of effort or struggle. It is a simple matter of consciousness. What you accept as true will be reflected back to you, and what you reject as impossible will remain out of reach. Desire is not something that must be chased, it is something that must be assumed. The reason so many people remain stuck in a cycle of wanting is because they keep reinforcing the idea that they do not have what they seek. Every time you say, "I want this," you are affirming that you do not have it. Every time you wish for something, you are pushing it further away. The secret is to move beyond wanting and into the state of already having. The moment you shift from desire to fulfillment, the world has no choice but to conform. This is where most people struggle. They look at their physical world and see no evidence of their desire. They allow their senses to dictate what they believe is possible. But the senses only reflect the past. The world you see now is nothing more than a projection of your previous thoughts and beliefs. If you continue to rely on what you see, you will continue to create the same experiences. The only way to create something new is to look beyond what is and see what could be. The truth is, your desire is already here. It exists in the unseen, waiting for you to claim it. But to claim it, you must feel it as real. You must move beyond thinking of it as a possibility and step into the feeling of already possessing it. You must walk, talk, and think as the person who already has what they once desired. The more you embody this state, the more quickly your external world will shift to match it. There is nothing you must do in the physical sense. There is no action that will bring your desire closer to you faster than the assumption that it is already done. The world will move in ways you cannot predict to bring it into your experience. Circumstances will change, people will appear, and opportunities will unfold, all in response to your new state of being. You do not need to force anything to happen. The moment you align yourself with the feeling of already having, the how takes care of itself. Doubt is the only thing that can delay your manifestation. The moment you allow fear or disbelief to creep in, you shift back into the state of wanting rather than having. And when you are in a state of wanting, you are reinforcing lack. The world responds to your dominant state, not to fleeting moments of belief. You must remain firm in your assumption, even when your senses try to tell you otherwise. You must trust that what you desire is already yours, even before it appears in the physical. This is not about fooling yourself or pretending. It is about understanding that the unseen world is just as real as the seen. It is about knowing that consciousness is the only reality, and that what you accept as true must externalize itself in form. If you can hold on to this truth and persist in the feeling of already having, you will find that everything you desire comes to you effortlessly. The process is simple. Close your eyes and see yourself already in possession of what you desire. Feel it, experience it as though it were happening now. Do not look at it as something in the future, but as something that is present in this very moment. If you can hold this feeling with conviction, you will soon find that your external world begins to shift in response. Do not concern yourself with time. Do not ask when or how. The moment you plant the seed of assumption, the process has already begun. Your only task is to remain faithful to the state of having. The more you dwell in this feeling, the more natural it will become, and the more effortlessly your reality will transform. Every desire is a call to step into a new version of yourself. It is not about getting something outside of you, it is about embodying a new state of being. When you realize this, you stop chasing and start assuming. You stop hoping and start knowing. And in that knowing, everything aligns. Nothing is out of reach. Nothing is too big or too small. The only limitation is the one you place upon yourself. The moment you truly accept that what you desire is already yours, the universe responds in kind. The external world is only a reflection of your inner world. Change within and the outer must follow. It is law. Your imagination is the key to everything you seek. It is not just a place where idle thoughts float, nor is it a tool meant only for daydreaming. Your imagination is the very foundation of creation, the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Everything that exists in your world first existed in someone's imagination. Every building, every piece of art, every invention, every relationship, it was all imagined before it took form. This truth is the secret that so many overlook. They believe their imagination is something separate from reality, when in fact it is reality in its purest form. The world you see is simply a reflection of past imaginal activity. Everything that exists in your life today is the result of what you have consistently imagined, whether consciously or unconsciously. The way you see yourself, the way you experience life, the circumstances that surround you, all of it was first shaped in the mind before it appeared in physical form. Most people are unaware of this process. They believe life happens to them, when in truth they are the creators of everything they experience. Imagination is not bound by time or space. It is not limited by logic or reason. It operates beyond the constraints of the physical world, and this is why it is so powerful. In your imagination, you are free. You are not subject to the rules of the external world. You can be anything, do anything, have anything. The only requirement is that you believe in the reality of what you imagine. Most people do not trust their imagination because they have been conditioned to rely on their senses. They believe only what they can see, touch, and measure. But the senses are only recording devices. They do not create. They show you what has already been accepted as true in your mind. The first step in using your imagination effectively is to understand that what you imagine is real. It is not fiction. It is not make-believe. It is a preview of what is to come. When you close your eyes and see yourself already in possession of what you desire, you are not engaging in a meaningless exercise. You are planting the seed of a new reality. If you nourish that seed with belief and persistence, it must grow into form. This is law. The only thing that can prevent your imagined world from becoming physical is your own doubt. You must learn to discipline your imagination. Most people allow it to wander aimlessly, entertaining fears, doubts, and worst-case scenarios. They use it to imagine all the ways things could go wrong, all the reasons their desires cannot come true. And then when these negative experiences manifest in their world, they believe life is against them. But life is not against them. They are simply experiencing the results of their own unconscious use of imagination. The mind does not discriminate between what is wanted and what is feared. It brings into reality whatever is most dominant in thought and feeling. This is why it is so important to use imagination deliberately. Instead of allowing it to drift into fear, use it to create the life you desire. Each night before you sleep, enter the state of your wish fulfilled. See yourself already having what you seek. Feel the joy, the relief, the excitement. Let the experience become so vivid in your mind that it feels more real than the physical world. As you drift into sleep in this state, you are impressing your subconscious mind with a new reality. And because the subconscious does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined, it must bring forth what you have accepted as true. It is not necessary to struggle or force anything. The act of imagining is enough. The world will shift in response to your inner state. Events will rearrange themselves, people will appear, and circumstances will unfold in perfect alignment with your assumption. You do not need to figure out how it will happen. Your only job is to remain faithful to the state of having. The how is not your concern. The universe has infinite ways to bring your desire into being, ways you cannot predict or control. The moment you interfere by trying to force a specific outcome, you are stepping out of faith and into doubt. One of the most powerful ways to use imagination is through revision. If something in your past is causing pain or blocking your progress, you can change it. The past is not fixed. It exists only in memory, and memory is fluid. Each time you recall an event, you are recreating it in the present. Most people replay painful experiences over and over, reinforcing the negative emotions attached to them. But you can use this same process to transform the past in your favor. Simply revisit the event in your imagination and change it. See it unfolding in a way that aligns with your highest good. Feel the relief of a new outcome. By doing this, you are rewriting your subconscious impressions, and as a result, your present and future must change. Your imagination is your most valuable asset. It is the tool through which all things are made. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. Do not dismiss it as fantasy. Do not allow the world to convince you that what you imagine is not real. The world itself is the result of imagination. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every transformation, at its core, it was all imagined first. The difference between those who live their dreams and those who do not is simply a matter of belief. Those who trust in their imagination see it reflected in their lives. Those who doubt it remain trapped in the limitations of the physical world. Begin now. Close your eyes and see yourself as the person you wish to be. Walk in that state, think from that state. Let it become so natural that it feels like the only reality, and soon the world will conform to match it. This is not theory, this is law. Your state of being is the magnet that draws every experience into your life. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Your desires are not separate from you, they are expressions of your inner state. If you wish to change your reality, you must first change the way you see yourself. You must become the version of yourself that naturally experiences the life you desire. This is the secret that so many overlook. They try to change the outer world without first embodying the inner state that corresponds to their wish fulfilled. Everything you experience in life is a reflection of your internal world. The external is only a shadow, a mirror that reveals what is happening within. If you do not like what you see, you must look inward, not outward. The world does not change first, you change first, and then the world rearranges itself to match your new state of being. Most people attempt to alter circumstances through effort, struggle, and force, not realizing that they are simply fighting against their own reflection. They believe that if they work harder, if they push more, if they do more, they can create change. But this approach only reinforces their current state of lack and limitation. True change begins within. You must first assume the feeling of already being the person you wish to be. This is not a game of pretending or wishing. It is a complete shift in identity. If you desire abundance, you must stop identifying as someone who lacks. If you desire love, you must cease seeing yourself as someone who is unloved. If you desire success, you must no longer think of yourself as struggling. Every thought, every feeling, and every action must be in alignment with the version of you that already has what you seek. This is not about deception, it is about transformation. Your consciousness is the cause of everything. The way you see yourself determines how the world responds to you. If you believe you are powerful, the world will reflect power back to you. If you believe you are worthy, life will bring you experiences that confirm your worth. If you walk in the knowing that you are already what you desire to be, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself in harmony with your assumption. This is not wishful thinking, this is law. Most people wait for evidence before they believe. They wait to see proof that their desires are possible before they allow themselves to feel the joy of having. But this is backward. Reality does not work that way. You must feel it first, then it appears. The outer world is always a delayed reflection of your inner state. If you wait for proof, you will remain stuck in your current circumstances. You must become the proof. You must be the evidence of your own assumption. When you carry yourself as though you already have what you seek, when you think from the end, when you feel the reality of your desire before it appears, you set into motion the forces that will bring it into physical form. You do not need to seek signs. The moment you adopt the state of the wish fulfilled, the signs will naturally follow. They are not indicators of what is to come. They are reflections of what has already been assumed. If you look for signs before you assume the state, you are still operating from a place of doubt. But when you embody the feeling of already having, you will find that everything in the world begins to align in ways you could never have planned. People will appear, opportunities will arise, and events will unfold with perfect timing. This is not coincidence. This is the outpicturing of your state. Most struggle because they allow the external world to dictate their inner state. They react to appearances rather than shaping reality from within. But when you understand that your consciousness is the source of all experience, you will no longer be controlled by what you see. You will know that what appears in the present moment is simply the residue of past assumptions. If it does not align with your new state, you do not need to react to it. You only need to remain faithful to the new version of yourself. The old must dissolve as the new takes hold. This requires discipline. It requires awareness. It requires that you guard your thoughts and emotions as though they are the most precious resources you have, because they are. Every thought you persist in, every feeling you dwell upon is shaping your future. If you do not take control of your inner world, it will be controlled for you by the patterns of the past. You will continue to experience the same cycles, the same struggles, the same limitations, until you decide to step into a new state. Do not let circumstances define you. You define circumstances. You are the operant power. You are the creator of your reality. Nothing is set in stone. No condition is permanent unless you accept it as so. The moment you shift your state, the world must shift in response. There is no delay in the realm of imagination. The moment you assume the feeling of already having, you have set the process in motion. The physical world may take time to catch up, but the reality of your assumption is immediate. The unseen forces begin working at once to bring your desire into being. You must trust this process. Doubt is the only thing that can delay it. When you begin to question whether it is working, when you allow fear to creep in, you are stepping out of the state of the wish fulfilled and back into the state of lack. This is why so many struggle. They waver between faith and fear, shifting in and out of states, never fully committing to one. But when you persist in the assumption that your desire is already yours, when you refuse to entertain any idea to the contrary, you will find that the outer world conforms effortlessly. What once seemed impossible will become inevitable. This is not magic, it is not superstition. It is the fundamental nature of reality. You are always creating, whether you realize it or not. Every assumption, every belief, every dominant feeling is shaping your world. The question is not whether this process works. The question is whether you are using it deliberately or allowing it to be dictated by past conditioning. The moment you take control, the moment you decide to embody the state of already having, you will see how quickly reality bends to match your inner world. Your state of being is everything. It is the only thing you ever need to change. If you wish to experience a new life, do not chase it, become it. Walk in the knowing that it is already done. Think from the end. Act as if. Do not wait for the world to change. Change yourself and the world will follow. Your reality is a reflection of your internal state, a perfect mirror of your dominant thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. The world you experience is not separate from you. It is the outpicturing of your imagination, the manifestation of what you accept as true. There is no outside force governing your destiny, only your consciousness shaping and molding itself into form. If you wish to change your life, you must first change your inner world, for nothing exists outside of your assumption of self. The key to transforming your reality lies in persistence. It is not enough to momentarily entertain a new state. You must dwell in it, live from it, and refuse to accept anything contrary to it. The reason most fail is not that the law does not work, but that they waver between belief and doubt, between faith and fear. They allow the evidence of the senses to dictate their inner state rather than allowing their inner state to shape what they perceive. This is the great challenge, remaining faithful to an unseen reality until it hardens into fact. The moment you allow circumstances to sway your belief, you return to your old state, reinforcing the very conditions you seek to change. To persist in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, you must train your mind to reject anything that contradicts your desired state. This does not mean denying what your senses show you, but rather recognizing that the present moment is simply the result of past assumptions. If you do not like what you see, you do not fight it. You replace it with a new assumption and remain loyal to it. The world is not fixed, it is fluid, constantly reshaping itself in response to your dominant state of being. Every great change begins within, long before it is seen in the physical world. Most people allow the outer world to dictate their feelings. They see lack and feel poor. They experience loneliness and feel unworthy. They observe failure and believe they are unsuccessful. But this is living in reverse, reacting to the world instead of creating it. If you wish to experience abundance, you must feel abundant before it appears. If you wish to be loved, you must feel loved before anyone expresses it. If you wish to be successful, you must assume success within before the world reflects it back to you. You must persist in this assumption regardless of appearances until it becomes the dominant reality in your mind. And when it does, the outer world has no choice but to conform. The mind will resist at first. It has been conditioned to accept only what it can see and touch. It will seek proof before it believes, not realizing that belief is the cause and proof is the effect. You must teach your mind to trust the unseen, to embrace the feeling of having before the physical confirmation arrives. This requires discipline, for the old patterns will attempt to pull you back into familiar states. Doubt will whisper that nothing is changing. Fear will insist that you are wasting your time. But if you persist, if you refuse to waver, you will witness the undeniable truth. What you assume to be true becomes your reality. Your imagination is the most powerful force in your life. It is not a mere tool for idle fantasy. It is the very substance of creation. What you vividly imagine and feel as real will materialize in your world. This is why persistence is essential. The moment you let go of your desired state and return to the old, you halt the process of manifestation. But when you remain steadfast, living from the end as though your wish is already fulfilled, reality will shift in ways you could never have predicted. This does not mean forcing things to happen. It does not mean struggling or striving. It means surrendering to the state of already having, trusting that the unseen forces are aligning everything in perfect order. Those who persist in their assumption find that events unfold with effortless precision. The right people appear, opportunities arise, and circumstances arrange themselves in ways that defy logic. It is not coincidence. It is the natural consequence of holding firm to your state of being. Many give up too soon. They plant the seed but do not wait for it to grow. They assume their wish fulfilled for a moment, then abandon it when the outer world does not immediately conform. But just as a seed takes time to sprout, so too does your assumption require persistence. The delay is not a denial, it is the process of reality reshaping itself around your new state. If you persist, if you remain unwavering, your desire must manifest. It is law. There will be moments of doubt, moments when the old world seems stronger than the new. In these times, you must remind yourself that the unseen is more real than what is currently visible. The present moment is simply the result of past thoughts. It holds no power over what is to come. When faced with contradiction, do not react, remain faithful to your assumption. The more you persist, the faster reality bends to your will. Faith is not merely hoping that things will change, it is knowing that they already have. It is standing firm in the conviction that what you seek is already yours, regardless of what the senses report. This is true power. Not being swayed by appearances, not being moved by temporary setbacks, but holding steadfast to your inner vision. Those who master this principle understand that reality is malleable, shaped entirely by the assumptions they persist in. The greatest transformations occur not through force, but through an unshakable inner knowing. When you persist in the assumption of already having, you radiate confidence, certainty, and ease. The world responds in kind. People begin to treat you differently. Opportunities present themselves effortlessly, and what once seemed distant becomes inevitable. The struggle disappears, replaced by the realization that you have always been the creator of your experience. You do not need to convince anyone else of your reality. You do not need external validation. Your assumption is enough. The moment you accept it as true, without needing confirmation, you have set the process in motion. The world will catch up in time, persist, and what you once longed for will become your lived experience.